Hey everybody, so welcome to the channel, and as you can see, Ford still sucks. Now let me get to what I mean by that. I know this is a couple days late, but I wanted to talk about it. Just got back from Florida, so I've been really busy. Had to cut the grass, get some laundry done, had getting everything caught up at work. Just didn't have time to do this video, but I did want to talk about it. So let's get into it. So the reason Ford still sucks is they're laying off 7,000 white collar jobs, which is about 10% of their global workforce. Now, we'll get into the reason this. The crazy thing is, on the article that I read, it said these people opened their emails on Monday, I guess this past Monday, to explain how many salaried workers would be leaving the company. I guess if you were, it would also tell you if you was one of those salaried workers that would be leaving. I would assume it would be there. And also why they're doing it. I think that's a pretty bad way to conduct business, in my personal opinion. I understand that there are workers all over the U.S., all over the world. From what I understand, a lot of these were U.S.-based workers. I think it said like 500 was losing them this week and 800 by August. We'll get into that here in a minute. But some of these were U.S.-based workers. But, you know, they opened an email. That's so informal. I mean, this is a life-changing event. These people, I'm sure a lot of them had families, you know, sons, daughters, wives, you know, so on and so forth, husbands if it's a woman. You know, a lot of them probably had families. They depended on this money, and, you know, these are salaried jobs, so they're not low-paying jobs. Not saying that any job Ford has, I'm sure they pay their, you know, associates that build the trucks and stuff like that a good salary as well. But, you know, normally you pay your salaried workers more money than you pay the other associates on the assembly line. So I'm sure these jobs, you know, were good paying positions, and a lot of these people probably relied on this money to support their families. Now, that being said, you know, the more money you make, the more money you spend. We've heard that our whole lives. So, you know, just because these people were making more money doesn't mean they're in any better shape than you, me, or anybody else. They may have had a bigger house or nicer cars or whatever it may be, but, you know, they still probably relied on that money to support their family. So I think that somebody should have at least walked up to them and said, hey, you know, one-on-one personal, and I understand maybe they couldn't do that to everybody, but I still think they should have had something, maybe a conference call in a group setting, something where somebody explained to them why this was happening, because I'm sure a lot of them probably had questions, and I'm sure they replied to those emails with a lot of these questions. Then whoever sent that email was bombarded by other emails when they could have had a conference call and just answered all these questions at one time. But, you know, a lot of people don't want to conduct business that way, and that's just another reason I feel that Ford sucks. So what's going on is 7,000 will be let go by the end of August. That is the goal. That included a voluntary buyouts. I'm assuming like a voluntary buyout, you know, maybe, you know, they offered somebody, you know, some kind of compensation for leaving early. Maybe the people that took the voluntary buyouts were, you know, close to retirement age, and that put them to the point where they were comfortable enough just to go ahead and leave and could make it to the retirement age where they could draw Social Security, their pension, or whatever it may be. And maybe somebody was at the age where they could go ahead and start drawing their pension and had just worked past that point, and it just made sense to go ahead and do that. But some of these were involuntary. You know, it was just, you're gone, we're sorry. We know you're 32 years old and you still have 5 years left to work, but we're sorry, you no longer have a job after this date. Now, the one thing that I do like that they said they've changed from practices, whereas they used to just tell people you're gone right now, get your stuff and leave, to whereas they gave them a few days to actually, you know, sever ties, tell people bye. You know, I'm sure it's an emotional time for these people, and it's probably awkward for the people that got to stay when you're talking to the person that's leaving, because there's a lot of animosity there when you leave a company like that with very short notice. But at least they're giving these people time enough to actually say goodbye and tie up all the ends. And that also doesn't leave stuff for people that is going to be filling that role, because I'm sure other people will have to pick up where these people left off. It'll also give them time to kind of address the fact of what they're working on, what projects they're working on, where they're at in that project, and not just leave somebody else hanging as well. So kudos to Ford at least for that. There will be 500 U.S. salary workers who will involuntarily leave this week, is what it said. I don't know if that means Friday. I don't know if that meant today. From what I understand, they got the email on Monday. So this week, it did not give a certain day. It probably, just guessing, means Friday would be their last day. If they're going to give them a few days, I would imagine, you know, hey, you're going to be gone on Friday. You got a week's notice. It makes sense to me, but I don't know that's what that was. Also, 800 more will be leaving by August. It doesn't say if they are voluntary or involuntary or anything like that. It just says 800 more will be leaving by August. Now, this is all U.S. I don't know if there's more than that in U.S. I don't know how many in other countries are going to be leaving as well. I'm sure it's not just affecting the U.S. It's probably affecting everywhere. But it didn't say how many more in the U.S. or how many in other countries in the article that I read about this. This is being pushed by investors. Now, you know, everybody wants to make a profit, and I understand that. But investors are pushing them to cut costs and increase profitability with an emphasis on overseas bloat. You know, I get that. Everybody wants to put money into a company, and they want to make money. I mean, that's why they invest in it. I put money in this company, I expect a return on my investment. How much money do they need to make? I mean, that's what I mean, this is affecting people's lives. And I get it. It is a business. But they're making billions of dollars a year on trucks. They've had the #1 selling truck for like a bazillion years in a row now. I mean, it's like 30 or 40 years or something. It's just stupid how long they've had the #1 selling truck. They sell fleet vehicles, so many of them yearly. How much money do they need to make? Now, they also said by cutting all these costs, they'll be saving $600 million. Now, get this straight. You're going to save a little over $500 million, but you're making billions of dollars. Now, I don't know exactly what that tallies up to be in like common layman term money. You know, I look at the company I work for and I think about, hey, I'm fixing to buy this part or this piece and it's so much money. And to me, it seems like a lot of money, but the company I work for makes so much more money that I try to think, what would that be like out of my pocket? I don't know what $600 million is to Ford. I'm sure that's a lot of money, but I just don't know what that comes out to be in normal people money. Is it really a lot of money to them? I'm sure all $600 million is probably not going to go back to the investors. They're probably getting a percentage of that. But to me, that just seems greedy. I know it's a rough word, but I'm going to use it. It seems greedy that you're already making tons of money on the best-selling truck in the market. You're selling so many trucks that you can cut out almost all your cars, only make trucks, and still make a lot of money. And you're still cutting 7,000 jobs. That's a lot of jobs. Most workers will be notified this week, it says. I would assume that they got that in email. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe they did send people in to talk to them face to face. I hope they did, because it's pretty crappy if they didn't, because like I said, this is affecting a lot of people's livelihood. The total over the past year, I did see this. It said with all the cutbacks and layoffs that they've had over the past year, it's like 20% of their total workforce. 20% cut in a year. That is a lot of people. Ford, you know, they employ so many people and they cut 20% of that this year. That's why I'm saying Ford sucks. It just seems like they're greedy to me. It seems like they're getting greedy. Seems like their investors are getting greedy. Maybe they aren't making that much money. These trucks aren't cheap either. You know, heck, an F-150, if you get it loaded out, it's got $65,000 or $70,000 now. It's hard to find a four-wheel drive for probably under 40, if I was guessing, in a crew cab. And you know it doesn't cost that much to make it. And I looked at a F-250 before I bought my Tundra, and the cheapest one I could find was, I don't know, it was like in a quad cab, was $70-some thousand. It amazes me that, you know, they want that much more profit. But I will say this, an analyst for Morgan Stanley stated, now this is just somebody from the outside looking in, that to meet the goals that Ford is wanting to meet, they would have to cut another 23,000 white-collar jobs. So 23,000 more salaried positions. Morgan Stanley analyst seems to think that they would have to cut to reach the profit margin they want to reach. How much money does Ford really need to make? In my opinion, now this is my opinion, I know Ford's still going to sell tons of trucks, but from the outside looking in, if everybody looks at it like I do, I think this is going to hurt them more than help them, because when you start laying off American workers and stuff like that for profitability, even though you're already making profits, or you wouldn't have cut your car line more than likely. I know the car line may not have been making profits, but your truck series was doing so well that you could afford to cut that and still build trucks and still make profits. I don't know. So in the comments, tell me your opinion. They're cutting American workers. Plain and simple, it's right there. I'm sure they're cutting workers all across the country, but they are cutting American workers as well. I know these are salary jobs, and a lot of you may not look at salary jobs, like I said, as associates on the floor. But these still are people. They still have family, they still have lives, and they still depend on this money. And a lot of them's going to have a hard time finding jobs in that area, because you can't cut, 800 jobs in one place and expect 800 jobs just to reappear. So in the comments, tell me what you think. Does Ford suck? Do you agree with me? Because I think they do. And I think they're getting worse. We all know the problems I've had with both my Fords. I'm not going to get into that. I have lots of videos. If you want to see videos on issues I've had with my two trucks that I had, go to my channel, go to the most watched, viewed videos, and they're the top two. So go check those out. There's more than that, but that'll give you all the information you need to know. So like I said in the comment section, tell me what you think. Do you agree with Ford? Should they lay these people off to make more money, more profits for their investors, or should they keep them on and not be as greedy and still make a good living? I appreciate y'all watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.